The LA Kings wrapped up their rookie face-off. How did they do, and who stood out? That and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love for you to leave us a positive comment on Apple Podcasts if you're a fan of the show. And we're also on YouTube. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, 20 plus years at the Fox Sports Radio Network. I'm also co-host of the Puck Podcast, the weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the last 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get 3 weeks of a free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Well, the countdown to the NHL season continues. The LA Kings season opener is October 10th in Buffalo, 24 days away. The preseason opener is September 23rd, 7 days away. And the 2024 Rookie Faceoff, hosted by the LA Kings, just wrapped up a couple of hours ago. We are getting ready to get that NHL season going here. It is fast approaching, and we are excited to be talking about it as we are back to 5 days a week here on Locked On LA Kings. Speaking of that rookie face-off, we're going to recap the games that were played by the LA Kings out there at El Segundo. If you couldn't make it out to the Toyota Sports Performance Center, or you couldn't watch it on the live stream, or even if you did, we're going to give you my thoughts on what the Kings did. But we'll start out by giving you a recap of the 3 games played by the LA Kings rookies in the rookie face-off. Game 1 was Friday, as the Kings took on the Vegas Golden Knights. I was out there live and in person to get to watch this one. We did get defenseman Brandt Clake playing in this game, which was exciting. Goaltender Eric Portillo also starting in net, could be a very key component for the Kings in their near future. We also saw a top line of Francesco Pinelli, the number 1 pick in this year's draft of the Kings, Liam Greentree, along with Cohen Ziemer. Interesting that Pinelli wore the C for this event as the Kings captain, and Clark wore the A as the alternate captain. Unfortunately for the Kings, in that first game against Vegas, they did not score a goal in a 2-0 loss. Both Vegas goals came on power plays, one of them a 5-on-3 against Eric Portillo, and then a 5-on-4 against this year's second-round draft pick, Carter George, with a defensive breakdown in front of the net. So hard to blame either goalie on those goals allowed. Clark and Pinelli were noticeable in this game, as you would expect, as kind of veteran players playing in this rookie event. They certainly looked like players who had played a full pro season so far in their career. As for Liam Greentree, another player that certainly Kings fans had a big eye on, played in all situations for the Kings, obviously on the top line, as well as on the power play and the penalty kill. Didn't have too many scoring opportunities and didn't really stand out much, at least in game number 1. He did have one nice play in the third period where he outmuscled a Vegas player for a loose puck, created a turnover, and it led to a good offensive possession. But that was about it for Liam Greentree. I did like the energy and the quickness of Cohen Ziemer, who led the Kings with 5 shots on goal. But the Kings not getting off to a great start in that 2-0 loss to the Vegas Golden Knights. I did think the Kings were a bit out-physicaled, if that's a word, by the Golden Knights in this one. There were a couple of fights, though, by the Kings. 6'7" John Parker Jones, camp invitee, got into a fight. He was playing on the 4th line for the Kings on the wing. And 6'6" Caleb Lawrence also, he centered the second line. They both dropped the gloves in retaliation for a hard hit on a teammate. Parker Jones played in the ECHL last year. He had a 5-minute major and 2 separate minor penalties, so he was trying to make his presence felt in other ways physically. As for Eric Portillo, 1 goal out on 7 shots in 1 period of action, and then Carter George, 1 goal out on 14 shots in 2 periods of action. As for game number 2, that was Saturday, as the Kings took on the Utah Hockey Club. No Brandt Clake, Francesco Pinelli, or Eric Portillo in this game. The Kings did finally score a few goals in this one, but ended up losing 4-3 in overtime. The Kings did stage a late comeback with 2 goals in the final 2 minutes, one from first-round draft pick Liam Greentree, the other from camp invitee Arvid Kodroth. He tied it up with 1:11 to go. Atu Yemsen scored the opening goal for the Kings in this one. Camp invitees Colby Hay and Jackson Parsons shared the net as the two netminders for the Kings. Caleb Lawrence, 7th-round pick in 2022, had 2 assists, as did camp invitee Patrick Monahan. Defenseman Angus Booth stood out, I thought, in this game, played very solidly, played very well. And after looking a little bit lost in the first game, I thought that defenseman Jared Woolley, 6th-round pick for the Kings this year, looked a lot more comfortable, had a nice play in overtime while shorthanded that led to a scoring chance. But again, the Kings come up just a little bit short against the Utah Hockey Club. As for Game 3, wrapping up just a few hours ago, the Kings taking on the Anaheim Ducks, and we had a little bit of a surprise in this game as both Brandt Clake, Francesco Pinelli, and Eric Portillo were all back in uniform for this game. Our guest last week, Jared Shaffron of the Ontario Reign, thought, and I agreed with him, that the more veteran-type players, Clark, Pinelli, Portillo, probably would only play in one game in this event. Not sure why the change, if in fact there was a change. Maybe this was the plan all along. Perhaps if it was a change, maybe an indication of the Kings not being all that happy with the way that they had performed in the first 2 games, or perhaps not. But Carter George would get the start in net in this one, the Kings' 2nd-round pick this year. Francesco Pinelli would also get the Kings on the board with their only goal of the first period. 1-0, the Kings had the lead. Carter George played a bit more than half the game and looked very solid with 15 saves in this one, did not allow a goal. Eric Portillo would come on as his replacement in net with about 8 minutes left in the second period. He did end up allowing 1 goal on 14 shots, so the game would end up being tied 1 apiece. We'd go into overtime where Quinn Olson of the Kings scored the game winner on a very nice play by Kings first-round draft pick Liam Greentree. He skated the puck into the zone, got kind of pinned into the corner by 2 different Ducks, but outmuscled both of them to get the puck, spun into the middle of the ice, fed it over to Angus Booth, who put a shot on goal, and then it was Olson putting in the rebound, and the Kings win over the Ducks 2-1 in overtime to get their one and only win in the Rookie Faceoff. So the Kings finished 1-1-1 in the event. For what it's worth, the Sharks and Golden Knights both went 3-0. The Kings didn't have any one player score more than 1 goal. Liam Greentree, Atu Yemsen, Caleb Lawrence, and camp invitee Patrick Monahan each had 2 points to lead the way. Brandt Clake did not register a point in 2 games. Eric Portillo earned the Kings' only win. He played 69 minutes and 28 seconds in the Rookie Faceoff. He allowed 2 goals on 28 shots in 2 appearances, and Carter George allowed 1 goal on 22 shots against in 2 appearances in the event. So what is my takeaway from the Rookie Faceoff? Who stood out for the LA Kings? That's next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you. Now through September the 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market NFL game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And of course, FanDuel is always there for you to bet on your favorite sports. Major League Baseball is winding down. College football is getting going, and the NFL season as well. Join FanDuel, browse the latest betting odds of your favorite sports teams, and check out the Sportsbook app and get in on the action. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. So a moderately successful Rookie Faceoff for the Los Angeles Kings. By all accounts, by the way, kudos to the LA Kings for doing a great job hosting this event with 7 NHL teams participating. It is the biggest rookie event currently in the NHL. The Kings were hosting the staffs, the support personnel, the players, all crammed into the Toyota Sports Performance Center. It's a venue, frankly, that is probably a little bit too small to host an event like this. Certainly wish there would have been more of an availability for more fans to get included in this, but the realities of that venue are what they are. And all in all, I think the Kings did a great job with what they had to work with. Hopefully everyone that participated and attended the camp enjoyed it, and everyone had a positive experience out of it. It seems like that was the case. As for the Kings, and I will say something, being able to attend the event in person, And sometimes you forget or maybe take for granted the speed and the skill of professional hockey players. When you're watching it on TV, or maybe you're sitting up in the 300 section, sometimes you don't get an appreciation for it. I was down on the glass in the corner of the rink, and again, it does definitely remind you how skilled these athletes are. And you definitely get an appreciation for how big some of these guys are being down there at ice level. In particular, I mentioned 6'7" John Parker Jones and 6'6" Caleb Lawrence certainly stood out literally. And it's not typical to see those guys that side play in the forward position as well. But anyway, my big takes, first and foremost, I would say thankfully nobody got hurt, as far as I know, especially guys like Brandt Clake and Eric Portillo, guys that are going to play very big roles for the LA Kings and for the Ontario Reign this season. Speaking of Brandt Clake, now he did not have a point in the event, but he looked as you would expect him to look, the best player on the ice in both of the games that he played in. Love his poise, his confidence, his decision-making, his communication on the ice. I thought he looked very solid defensively. I know that's a question mark with him a little bit. And I realize, again, that he is one of the elite talents in this event, and you could say he should look that way, but he did. First game, he wasn't much of a factor offensively, but he was still controlling the play, always seemed to calm things down when he has the puck on his stick. Second game, the third game for the Kings, but his second game, he looked a lot more for his shot. One thing I really like about Brandt Clake is that he just has this sense for when it's time to put the puck on net. Not necessarily looking for a score, but knowing there's traffic in front, knowing he's got guys going to the net, and being able to put the puck in a dangerous area and hope his teammates can get a chance at maybe a deflection or a rebound. He did that more than once in that third game and just seemed to know at the right time when to do that. Now, the Kings didn't score on those opportunities, but they were dangerous situations for the other team. I thought both goalies played very well. We're talking about the two goalies who are in the Kings organization, Eric Portillo and Carter George. I thought they were both very solid. I know head coach Marco Sturm singled out George in particular as one of the top players for the LA Kings, and those guys both did a great job in net. I thought Francesco Pinelli, who I am hoping to see take a step up this season for the Ontario Reign, thought he looked very confident and poised, again, as you would expect as an experienced pro playing in this type of a setting, but still good to see. And I think the Kings are looking for him to take a step forward this season with the Ontario Reign and then see where he is after this season. But again, looking for him to really assert himself, take a step forward. And I thought it was quite the honor for him to get to wear the C in this event for the LA Kings. Liam Greentree didn't start strong, the Kings' first-round pick this year, but I thought he really came on in the second and the third games. And yes, his skating isn't great. I know that was the big knock on him coming into and out of the NHL draft. He's definitely not very fluid. He's a bit of a plotter, but he does have grit and desire. I loved him winning battles along the boards, and not just winning it to keep possession, but to actually create scoring chances. That's something you don't need to be a great skater at. If you can muscle, get good position along the boards and win those battles, it really is about desire and a want to and knowing how to do it. And certainly he has that to his game, which I like to see. Really like how he progressed as the tournament went along. Didn't look great to start, but got better and better as things went along. I thought forwards Otto Jemsen and Caleb Lawrence both look solid. Two guys that are going to be looking to have their first full pro seasons with the Ontario Reign this year. So looking to take their game to the next level. Jemsen has been playing overseas. Lawrence has been playing junior hockey. And again, Lawrence, 6'6", man, really stood out, a big man on the ice. Him taking faceoffs at center at 6'6". It's pretty impressive. He's got the skill to be able to do that and to be a factor. So I thought he was a very interesting guy to watch. Cohen Ziemer, I thought he had some jump. He didn't really progress along in the event like Greentree did, was kind of just okay throughout. Did have a big penalty shot opportunity in that third game. Unfortunately, wasn't able to convert that chance. As far as the defensive side, I liked Angus Booth a lot. Assisted on the game-winning goal in the overtime winner for the Kings. I thought he played solid defense throughout. He's going to be looking to get his pro career going in Ontario as well. So looking forward to that. Also thought young blue liner Jared Woolley Also got a lot better as the event went along. Looked pretty lost, to be honest with you, in that first game, kind of deer in the headlights a little bit, but looked a lot more comfortable by game number 3. Matthew Mania and Luke Rowe also looked pretty good defensively for the Kings as well. If there was one player that I had to kind of single out as somebody that didn't have a great event, in my opinion, I'd have to go with defenseman Jakub Dvorak, second round pick 2 years ago for the Kings. He's got good size, 6'5", but he doesn't really use it. He's a bit on the slow side. His decision making is very deliberate, typically kind of a half step behind in things. Took a really bad penalty in that third game, the final game against the Ducks. Fortunately, it didn't lead to a goal against. But I think he's really going to need to step up his game and really grow and develop as he goes along if he's going to ever be an NHL level defenseman. Now, keep in mind, he's 19. All right, there's plenty of time left, but I have to give my opinion on what I see now, not 3 years from now, because we don't know how it's going to work out down the road. Hopefully, again, he can kind of grow into his body a little bit more, get a little bit better as far as his hockey sense on anticipating and being kind of at least a step, if not a step ahead, at least a step equal with kind of things that are going on. And again, you don't want to take too much into account of what you saw 3 games in a rookie faceoff, right? We shouldn't, define a player based on that, but we can only go on what we see in this event. And I would say that he's a guy, Jakub Dvorak is a guy that does have some growing to do. Hopefully we'll see him back at the event next year and we can see some progress from him next year. I'm not sure where he's going to play as far as next season. He did split time in his native Czechia last year and in the Western Hockey League playing junior hockey. So that's an option. Maybe he gets a call to play for the Ontario Reign. Not sure about that. He could go back overseas. There are some options there. I don't know exactly what the Kings plans for him or what his decision is as far as what he wants to do. But certainly a guy we'll keep an eye on going forward, and we'll see him back at the rookie faceoff again next season. And it'll be interesting to kind of observe and see exactly how he progresses going forward in his career. But all in all, I thought a pretty good showing for the LA Kings. Didn't look great in that first game. Obviously, the second game, a nice comeback to at least get a point out of it. And then it culminated with the third game where you beat a Ducks team that had a lot of young prospects out there in overtime. So kind of like some of the players that were on display for the LA Kings, I thought the Kings as a team definitely got better as the event went along. Maybe if they played, 5-6 games, the Kings could have been one of the better teams there. But like I said, all in all, I thought solid showing by the Kings, both individually as the players and as a team as well. So training camp is about to get underway. We've had development camp, we've had rookie camp, and now we are getting ready for training camp. We will talk about that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, those of us that live in LA, so lucky. We have so many opportunities to see live events, sports for sure. And I'm actually going to be going to Pittsburgh this weekend with my wife to see her favorite team, the Chargers, face my favorite team, the Steelers. Always an interesting time. But regardless of how you get your tickets, we use Gametime to get our tickets to that game. And it's not just about sports. You've got theater events, you've got concerts, but no matter what you enjoy, do what we do. Use Gametime for all your ticket needs. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks. It makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Gametime Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can get Dodger tickets for less than $40, LAFC tickets for less than $25. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime. I did want to mention at the Rookie Faceoff, we got a chance to see for the first time the LA Kings new look uniforms in action for the first time. And overall, I liked what I saw. I do have to agree with friend of the show, Russell Morgan from Hockey Royalty, that the stripe along the bottom of the jerseys is a bit big. I think the exact quote from Russell was, "You could land a plane on that stripe." I would be okay if they decided to reduce that stripe a little bit. It is very thick there along the bottom. Not a big deal, but it is noticeable. And I will say that there is also a stripe around the collar of the jersey, which is not uncommon. The Kings wore their black jerseys throughout the 3 games. It's a white collar around the neck. Someone whose name rhymes with Jesse Cohen said he did not like the collar around the jersey. I didn't have a problem with it at all. I think it looks just fine. So not a big deal to me. But again, just had a chance to see those Kings new look jerseys in action. Overall, liked what I had to see. And it'll look even better when we see Anze Kopitar and Quentin Byfield and Drew Doughty skating in those uniforms as well. So looked pretty good. They also had the black matte helmets as well, which I kind of liked as well. So the new look LA Kings for this coming season, I would say definitely a passing grade from me. So training camp gets underway this Wednesday. As I mentioned, preseason games are right around the corner. Can't wait to get our first looks, talking about first looks at what the Kings line combinations could be for the start of training camp and how that could translate to the regular season. Looking forward to seeing those new Kings uniforms on some new players. Darcy Kemper in net, Warren Fogle, Tanner Jeannot, forwards, and defenseman Joel Edmondson. Looking forward to seeing in training camp maybe what are the first new wrinkles that we're going to see from new head coach Jim Hiller, different strategies, different combinations, things like that. How will the power play be different potentially? Penalty kill as well, but mostly with Jim Hiller, he's kind of been a power play specialist his whole career. So looking forward to seeing how that could be looking different. And all in all, it's just really another step on the way to getting towards the regular season and real NHL action. Looking forward to the not only the training camp opening up, but of course the preseason games as well, leading right into the NHL regular season. It is time to really start getting excited about this new LA Kings season, which has a lot of intrigue. We got new faces. We've got young players taking a step forward, showing what they can do. We got a new head coach this is his team now. It's not an interim thing. He's not holding, the rope for somebody else. This is his team now. So lots of intrigue around a team that's made the playoffs 3 years in a row. Can they make it 4 years in a row? And can they finally get over the hump? But it all really gets going with training camp opening up on Wednesday. Again, looking forward to that. For you everydayers, we are back to 5 days a week. Coming up on Tuesday's show, Kings insider Zach Dooley is going to join us on the eve of training camp, talk about his thoughts on what we've seen so far. He was out there at rookie camp covering that event. Get his thoughts on that. We'll talk about training camp and the upcoming season for the LA Kings. On Wednesday's show, we will have a report on the opening of training camp and what we saw. Thursday, we're going to have a special random Kings fan interview as Kings fan Gary Lempert is going to join us. And then on Friday's show is our weekly Kings fan feedback show. Excited to be back to 5 days a week and get the hockey season going again. And just want to say thank you to all of those of you that have been regular listeners, everydayers here on Locked On LA Kings. Now that we have a new season starting, now that people are going to get started to get excited about hockey season again, I would ask you for a favor in that if you do have friends who are Kings fans, who like to consume podcasts and you like to watch YouTube shows, if you would, tell them about Locked On LA Kings, and hopefully we can keep the audience growing and get more and more Kings fans involved in the show. I would greatly appreciate that. Now, if you want to stay interactive with the show, social media, we're on X, Twitter, and Instagram at Locked On LA Kings. And of course, if you want to interact with the show, with our Friday feedback show or anything else, the email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. And we always welcome your posts as well if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section as well. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We will talk to you on Tuesday. And as always, go Kings, go.